Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Yeah, it is not the Tony Cotillo show yet, but I'm just trying to intro out, trying to time it. It's Tony Cotillo, Tyler Mraz right here talking Eagles, man. For the first time talking Eagles. You see Tyler on the pregame show. By the way, got to give much props as always. Tyler hitting another HRS triple play. Bro, I don't know. Like, I know the Win Daily model is fantastic, but the Tyler Mraz model might be just as fantastic, man. Props to you.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think this is the third night in a row hitting all three, or at least three, and then we hit two on Friday night. So it's whatever I'm doing, it's working. So I
Awesome.
just got to keep it up.
It is awesome. And again, make sure you get locked in to windailysports.com. Use that code word HEAT. Very, very simple. And shout out, we had 3 people sign up yesterday, which is great. That just shows that our partners are working and they're happy with us. So we want to continue that love as always. Windailysports.com. Use the code word HEAT, man. I keep saying this because it is August 26th, and that promo that you get 50% off is only for 9 more days. Once the tip-off goes, the first, not tip-off, we're talking basketball, kickoff, okay? Once that kickoff goes on Thursday night, man, promo's gone. So you want to lock in right now. But, Tyler, we got a big roster talk, man. I see so funny, man. Seeing the Tebow and the Minshew jerseys. I love it, man. I love it. Sorry, Gardner Minshew still with the Vegas Raiders, still doing his thing. But as always, man, Eagles talk. You know, we see where we're at. Just before we get into the roster talk, I just want to say how excited I am, man. Like I just, I've been doing a lot of fantasy football drafts, and the more I do them, I don't really watch any of the preseason. I think it's all trash. But just seeing everything play out, it just knows that I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to Brazil, man. How pumped are you for this?
I'm so pumped, dude. Last year I wasn't as excited as I would normally be for an Eagles season. I don't know why. Maybe because I was living in Florida, but even before that, the year I was down there the first time, I was pumped. But last year, just I don't know, something felt off about it. The only thing I was really excited for was the Kelly Green jerseys. But this year, I'm so hyped. I really feel like this is the best chance the Phillies have at or Phillies. I'm so used to talking about the Phillies. The Eagles. This is the best chance the Eagles have at winning the division. I'm not really high on the Cowboys this year. They extended CeeDee Lamb earlier, but I'm still really not too high on them. Commanders are a huge question mark as well. And then the Giants are the Giants. Good defense, but awful offense. So I really think this is the best chance the Eagles have had in a couple of years to win the division.
I agree, man. I can't believe I took on What's Up, Adam, as always, checking in. I took I still Vegas isn't going with this for some, like the number still isn't crazy. So the Eagles winning NFC East right now is at -125. And I know it's so much, but that's still not, I don't feel like there's a lot of juice behind that number yet. And I'm really shocked. I don't understand. Like, what do people, I saw that knucklehead Nick Wright come out and it's going to be like, come on, bro. Like, what world do you live in where you can honestly say it's going to be the Cowboys? I mean, something's really drastically has to go on with the Philadelphia Eagles for that to happen, and let's pray that it doesn't. But I think the biggest thing that we go into this season is Jalen Hurts just looks like a completely different quarterback. I don't know if it was mental, if it was physical, if it was a little of both. There was something definitely going on, obviously, on that team. We're past that. We're headed off into Brazil. Not extremely happy about the Brazil game, I have to tell you. The only thing I do like about it, Tyler, is it's Friday night, which means on Sunday, I get to watch 7 hours of commercial-free football. My boy Scott Hanson.
Yeah, that's really the only good thing about the Eagles not playing on Sundays is getting to watch all the other games, because then it's like when the Eagles play on Sunday, you're focused on the Eagles. But when they already play, you're like, oh, great. Now I can keep up with all my fantasy teams. But yeah, kind of odd that the Eagles are playing in Brazil, especially against the Packers, because they told the players to avoid wearing green because of something with gangs. So like all the fans are going to be wearing green. So like what's going to happen to the fans? Like I think it's just odd choice to where they're having the game.
Very, very weird. That whole, especially like you just said, when they talked about that, when it came out with the green for the gangs, I was just thinking, like, number one, if that's the case, why on God's earth are we playing in Brazil? Like no matter if it's the Eagles, like why? If we were like, you should have picked different teams. No, why the hell are we going there then? Like if that's a problem, I don't understand. It's just crazy. But listen, Adam, I mean, he's talking about it. He talks about Kenny Pickett. He says, "I was at the game Saturday. Kenny Pickett looks terrible." You know, again, the backup quarterback is a love affair with the Philadelphia Eagle fans. I never understood it. I don't get it. We always fall in love with the backup quarterback. I'll be personally honest. I don't really care. But I will say that Tanner McKee has looked really good, as opposed to Kenny Pickett. But what I'll say, Tyler, is, Kenny Pickett is still could be. I heard Barrett Brooks say it, and he's right. Maybe Pickett's a gamer. Like maybe he's a guy who just knows how to turn it on at the right time. Because I did see some flashes in Pittsburgh with him. So the only thing I will say is maybe they keep him as their backup because he's played very meaningful NFL snaps already. Even besides looking at the preseason, but Tanner McKee has looked really good. What do you think on those two?
I think to start the year, Kenny Pickett will 100% be the quarterback too. Howie Roseman traded a conditional 4th round pick for him.
Yep.
Something like that. But I honestly would have preferred Justin Fields. I mean, the Steelers got him for conditional 6th. So I would have rather have taken Justin Fields. That report came out about him and Nick Foles kind of clashing in Chicago, Foles trying to help him and Fields kind of not taking it seriously. So I guess there's always that, but I'm really impressed with Tanner McKee. I was really impressed with him in the preseason last year, but obviously he was a rookie and you brought in Marcus Mariota, gave him a couple million to be the backup quarterback. So there was no chance that he was taking over that job. But this year, I think he has a real chance to, if God forbid something happens to Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett comes in and he's awful, then I think Tanner McKee would 100% be next to him. I think Kenny Pickett would have a short leash just because it's not like you're stuck with him after this year. He has, I think, 1 year remaining on this deal, or I think the 5th-year options next year. But again, I am really impressed with Tanner McKee, and I definitely think he could be a solid backup quarterback for the Eagles for years to come.
I agree, man. I'm not gonna. Again, this could be a really good find with them. It really could be, and we obviously hope that the backup quarterback doesn't play. We don't want the backup quarterback to play, right? I mean, if that's the case, we got a problem. But all I know is this team going forward. A lot of people are saying it doesn't have a depth. I totally disagree. I think this is the team has a ton of depth. Now, the offensive line could be a little thin, right? I mean, but I will say this is everybody says Howie season. It's true because Howie definitely likes to find, you still have a guy like James Bradbury who we don't know is he going to be on this roster or not, right? You really don't know. Could he be traded? I mean, there's still time, to find a tango partner to get like a conditional pick and to get some assets back. I'm not sure. It was good to see Cooper DeJean get out there and get some live game action, right? But I will say this, one of the most important parts, on this team is going to be their secondary, no matter what anybody says. And the secondary is strong. It's really strong. And I'm excited because, man, Mitchell looks like the real deal, man. He really does.
Yeah, a questionable move when I first heard his name being read at the draft, but then you watch the tape, you hear what others have to say, and I was just ecstatic after doing all my research because I wasn't really sure about him. Went to Toledo? Was it Toledo?
Yep.
So
Yep.
a lower end school, and person I know was like, "Oh, well, he did really well at a lower end school. Like, what was holding him back from going to like a bigger school?" And you hear the reports that he could have if he really wanted to, but he was loyal and he wanted to stay at Toledo, and he performed at an even higher level. So a loyal guy who can play at the top of his game, a huge get for the Eagles secondary that has really struggled. I know they had some rookies show flashes last year with Kelly Ringo and Eli Ricks, but you don't know if they are, especially Ricks. Ricks has been, really don't know if he's going to be on the 53-man roster. Spoiler alert, I think he will be. But Quinyon Mitchell, man. Him, Isaiah Rodgers, and Darius Slay are going to be a nasty trio for the Birds this year.
Yeah, they really are. And you mentioned Killy Ringo, who I'll be honest with you, man. Like he's a guy that sky's the limit for him. He has the moxie about him. He has the build. He has the acumen. He has the physical attributes. He has everything. And the other guy we never even mentioned in this conversation that I keep saying is the X factor of the secondary, and he continues to be as long as he can stay healthy, is Avonte Maddox. Like Avonte Maddox is absolutely one of the best players in the secondary. He's got a nose for the ball. He's very, very intelligent. He studies the game. He can hit hard. He can cover. He reminds me, Tyler. I remember when we signed. I can't remember who everybody wanted us to sign, but we signed Malcolm Jenkins. But we all wanted somebody else. Was it Jarius Byrd or it
Yeah, it
was
was someone like
right? It
that.
was somebody right. And when we got Jenkins, everybody's like, is this guy a corner? Is he a safety? Like, what is he? I think that's what Avonte Maddox kind of is emulating. And I think his biggest issue, I think we all know, is health. But this guy, you think about it, you just mentioned a bunch of names. We never even mentioned Maddox, and he essentially could be the third best guy in that secondary, and we don't even talk about him.
He converted to safety, a position he has played in the past. So you already are filled up at cornerback with Darius Slay, Isaiah Rogers, Quinyon Mitchell, and then you get more safety depth because you have Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson as your likely two starting safeties. So having Avonte Maddox, who is phenomenal, he's just like you said, he cannot stay on the field. But when he is on the field, the Eagles' defense is completely different. I don't know what it is about him, but he just plays phenomenal. He really does. He's a ball hawk. He makes great tackles, and I mean, he was the slot cornerback for the longest time. But now transitioning to safety, you get more of these younger guys time to play at corner, and Avonte Maddox will fit right in at the safety position. And if someone goes down, if you want to get CJ or Reed to play off, you can put Avonte in. It's not an issue because he can be as good or even better than both of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. Let me ask you this because me and you haven't talked since they did it though. What do you think about Johan Dotson move?
Oh man, I'm very shocked at that move. I was not surprised that Washington got rid of him. I was just more surprised that the Eagles got him, considering it's an in division trade. But
Yeah,
500 receiving, over 500 receiving yards in both years. Really kind of struggled a little bit with the Commanders, but he had Sam Howell. He had not good quarterbacks. Taylor Heineke. He's going to have Jalen Hurts behind one of the best offensive lines, and he has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith at wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. So he's not going to be the wide receiver 2 for Sam Howell this year. He's going to be wide receiver 3 in an offense with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert. So he is not going to be ultra productive, but he's going to do his job. He's going to do what needs to be done.
and look at this, man. This is why I love doing these shows because I say this all the time. What we do is we get that fan interaction, okay? And we got breaking news by Mrs. Mirage second in telling us that Phillies have won with Bryce Harper a walk-off single. So the boys ring the bell. The Phillies win once again, man. Listen, I noticed we're talking Eagles, but finally, they're not all there yet. They're not all back 100% yet, but finally, Tyler, we're starting to win baseball games again.
They're putting the pieces together, and they're not even like you're like, oh well, they played the Marlins or the Nationals. They just beat the Royals in a series. They dropped 11 runs twice, and then they had that game on Friday. They would have won if Taijuan Walker wasn't the pitcher, most likely, because they still had a decent offensive night. But they really look like they're starting to piece it together. Like you said, they're not all there yet, but they've won 3 in a row now, and another win against a tough Houston team who's had a really good second half of this season. So I mean, are they back? I don't know. Hard to say, but huge win tonight, especially with Taijuan Walker pitching Wednesday, and then you have the 4 games against the Braves. I'm not sure what the score of the Braves game is right now. I'll check it what that is, but huge win for the Phillies.
Huge, man, huge. I mean, it's again, it's a breath of fresh air. It's really nice to see. We really, really, really need to get it, man. We really, really need to get it. And again, listen, Tyler, it's talked about it, man. 6-0 last 2 nights using the Win Daily model. So make sure you go to windailysports.com. Use that code HEAT for 50% off all memberships, man. Get it. Listen, Miraz hit on. Look, our man Albert checking in. I mean, Albert, look at that. And Albert, again, great friend of the family. Heat Ratio Sports, Win Daily Sports. Even Albert may be doing some content for Heat Ratio Sports pretty soon. My ass is just gonna get on the phone with him because I'm so goddamn busy. But I will get there. But he says hits on the bets as well as the exception trade turn, which is the bonus bet, right? We always have a bonus bet in there. But here's what I keep telling people, and then we're gonna get to the death on the Eagles chart. I keep telling people, Tyler, and it's starting to work that. Again, 6-0 last 2 nights, right? That's 6 bets. You're not always going to go like that. You just ride the heater, right? You're riding the heater, which is great. But the thing is, if somebody would have wrote all 6 of those bets, they would have paid each bet would have got them a week. So just say if they're 6-0 and they wanted, even if they spent $5 on a bet, literally you'd have the next 6 weeks paid for, and you would never pay again all year because you would keep recycling the same money. Are you kidding? Like, where else can you get that? And you only got 9 days left. So make sure you check that out. And Albert, check it in 9-1. Atlanta's up 9-1. So again, listen, this isn't going to be, it should never got to this, but it is where it's at. But you know what? That's here nor there. Let's get back on track. Let's talk Eagles. That's where we want to go. We're talking about that chart. So let me ask you this, Tyler. What guy or guys or what would be your most surprising move, do you think, that people may go, wow, I didn't see that coming? Or do you think it's just going to kind of play itself out?
I really think James Bradbury staying on this roster would be a surprise to me. I mean, I know there's the contract, but they tried converting him to safety. He did not look good. I just think he's a lost cause at this point. Whether or not, I mean, it's just a bad fit at this point. But I mean, really, it's all up to Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman. If Fangio gives Howie the okay, he's like, you know what? If you want to trade him, if you want to cut him, it's fine. We don't really have a spot for him. I would honestly be really surprised if he was still on this team with the depth they have at corner and safety. Because right now, my projected corners, Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, Kelly Ringo, Eli Ricks, and then Josh Jobe. And then safety, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. I have Cooper DeJean as a safety. I know he could be interchangeable, but I have him at safety. And then Avonte Maddox. So I just don't see a spot for him. He's not really going to play that much, and you're paying him all that money. I'd rather just get rid of him, cut loose ends.
Yeah, I don't disagree, man. I completely agree. I think the fact that Cooper DeJean came and played the other night, I think was a telltale sign. I think if the DeJean injury was going to linger, it was going to be a little while. I think that's why they had Bradbury taking those snaps at safety, because I'm with you. I look at DeJean as a safety. And you look at this team, I mean, you just mentioned these names, okay? Like Quinyon Marshall or Mitchell is their number 1 overall pick, and he's playing like it. Okay, so he's not going anywhere. Darius Slay is not going anywhere. You have Isaiah Rodgers under team control on a cheap contract, same as Kelly Ringo, and they both can play. Eli Ricks, you mentioned that. I mean, another kid that can play. Josh Jobe, maybe I don't think it's going to be Zach McPherson. I think they finally cut bait with Zach McPherson, a guy they've tried, they traded. I mean, they drafted, just not working. And then you go CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, by the way, who's also signed. Avonte Maddox. There's just, like you said, there's no room for James Bradbury at all. I don't see it. And I think that they're trying. A defensive line on the edge, or possibly some linebacker depth, or obviously offensive line depth, somewhere, some way, he's either going to be a cap casualty, he's going to be cut, and then they're going to bring somebody else in, or they're going to trade for either a player or conditional pick. But I'm with you, man. I don't see Bradbury on this team anymore.
No, like you said, there's just no space for him. And I really think that would be my biggest surprise. I mean, I'm looking through projections. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and traded for another edge rusher.
Yep.
I don't think they would, but I'm not a huge Josh Sweat guy. I think he's a
Me neither.
little bit overrated at this point. I mean, Nolan Smith, he's looked okay at times. He's looked bad at times. He's looked good at times. So he's been inconsistent so far. His first year, he's going to really be playing. Brandon Graham's literally on his final year, still a really good player, depth guy. And then Bryce Huff, who you just signed, you're not getting rid of him. So those are your top 4 guys. And then you got Jalix Hunt, who the Eagles just drafted in the 3rd round. Patrick Johnson's a really good special teamer. And then I also have Teron Jackson just as an edge depth guy. Eagles like having depth at edge. And I do think that there is a chance if there's a solid edge rusher available, whether that's trade or free agency, I do think Howie is going to pounce on that. Who, though, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, listen, there'll be some guys let go. You have Yannick Ngakoue still sitting out there, which as a free agent, which I'm really surprised. Maybe there's something wrong where he's asking for too much money. But one thing I will say is I've heard a lot of hate across the timeline and on radio for Nolan Smith. And what I will say is, to me, this entire year for guys like Nakobe Dean, who's actually come on since we've talked, but guys like Nolan Smith, I'm not a Josh Sweat guy, but I'm still going to give him the benefit. And I'll tell you what, absolutely love Jalix Hunt. I think he's so raw, and I think that he's going to be such a phenomenal player years down the road. But I think they'll be able to put him kind of the way they used Derek Burgess in the beginning of his career before he went on to the Raiders and became like the sack specialist that he was. But, they slowly opened the door for Derek Burgess back in the day and, put him in situations. And I think that's what they do with Jalix Hunt. But just remember something. Vic Fangio has been known for a very long time to develop players and to take them to the next level, whether it be a veteran player, take them to another level, or a rookie to take them to the next level. I talk about Bradley Chubb a lot because he did wonders for Bradley Chubb out there in Miami. So I just say this is a mulligan year for me, Tyler. This is like, look, these guys, give them a chance because it's a different coaching staff. It's a different philosophy, and you can't judge them based on the preseason. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. Let them try to play during this year and see what happens. But I'll tell you what, I know how much you watch it. I love Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, I've watched some of his tape in college, and he looks really good. Like you said, Fangio does wonders with some of the younger edge rushers in both Denver and Miami. So I really think he could be a guy next year. Brandon Graham's not going to be here. So I think Jalix Hunt could easily fill in for that role and maybe even overtake a role like Josh Sweat. Maybe it's Josh Sweat, maybe it's Jalix Hunt taking over for Josh Sweat and then Nolan Smith on the edge next year. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him. I really do.
I agree. David checking in. What's up, David? Rich checking in. Rich Bradford checking in says, great play by Rojas, great Harper hit, and sweet walk-off win. Listen, I can't wait to go when we get off and watch this, but they needed a win like this. Obviously, the Eagles needed a win like this. So the Phillies needed a win like this. But let's shift to the other side of the ball. But I 100% agree. I'm Josh Sweat. Listen, he bitched about money. He wanted this. Listen, man, he didn't deserve it, in my opinion. He's not that guy. He needs to show me more, man, and he's not showing it to me. Now, we get to the offensive line. I'll be honest with you. Obviously, listen, Mailata, stud. Landon Dickerson, stud. The only thing, I'm not even worried about Cam Jurgens. I'm not worried about the right guard spot. I think that as long as he's healthy, I think Mekhi Becton is an absolute monster. He will be the next guy of Stoutland University, a guy, a former 2021 first-round pick for the Jets, who just gets a new breath of fresh air, who Jeff Stoutland takes, just like he took the rugby guy that was in the 7th round, Jordan Mailata. I think he'll do the same thing. The scariest thing I have, Tyler, is I'm worried about Lane Johnson. And I love Lane. And I'm not saying there's anything to say, I've seen. No, it is not. He's 35 years old. And he's had some history of injuries lingering. He's had some other things going on. And the reason why I'm worried is we have nobody at all behind Lane Johnson.
No, no, not really. So, yeah, I guess Mekhi Becton could play tackle, but I mean, the Jets tried him out there and he did not work, and he was primarily left tackle. So really want to keep him at guard, especially if he's going to be the starting right guard. You have Tyler Steen, who's a guard. Dylan McMahon's like a guard. You have Fred Johnson and then Brett Toth. Tooth. I don't
Yeah,
really know
Brett
how to.
Toth, he
So
stinks. I've
I
seen
don't like depth chart. You got
he
Darian
stinks.
Kennard. It's just like guys like I don't know. I feel like the Eagles always have offensive line depth. I really think that their guard and center depth is unbelievable, especially with the younger guys. I'm high on them, but
Yes.
the tackles, I just don't really. I'm not enamored with it. Fred Johnson's decent, but
I don't
besides that, I'm not really confident in the backups. Hopefully, he doesn't have to get to that though.
No, yeah, you don't. It's just, my biggest fear is, I think you could always get away with the interior of the line. We watched that when we had the bookends for years with Trey Thomas and John Runyon. You were able to do things within the middle. To cover some deficiencies up. I mean, they brought in Wisniewski to 1 year, it was an absolute Pro Bowl. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can actually do it. But I do now. I can't remember, but I thought maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Landon Dickerson was a guy who could actually play tackle if he had to. I can't remember. I know he's very athletic, and I think maybe he has the footwork to be able to do that. Not sure, but I think this is a move that where Howie is just watching these cuts. We brought a guy in a long time. It was a trade, obviously, and it happened a little late. I'm not saying that's out there, but when we got Jason Peters from the Buffalo Bills for a first and third in the Andy Reid era, that was a huge deal. And it was Jason Peters, again, a guy who wanted money and he wanted to get paid. So they had to move him. Now, there could be some guys out there like that right now. There could be some guys at the elder states of their career, but say, you know what, I just want to go win a ring. And as for depth, you could grab somebody like that. So I do think that's going to be out there. It's out there every year. So that is my biggest concern. Wide receiver, not concerned at all. Tight end, not concerned at all. Running back, absolutely not concerned. I do think, I'll be honest with you, for what I saw, and I was a Kenny Gainwell guy, but from what I've seen of Will Shipley, whether it be in preseason highlights or actually camp and camp updates from some of our friends of the program, like the great Chris Franklin, who says this kid's legit. He finds the end zone. He's picking up the offense, and the one thing he does is he doesn't drop the ball, and he knows how to pick up the blitz coverage. So I'll tell you what, Tyler, I think that eventually it won't be long before Shipley is the next guy behind Barkley.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, you see the preseason tape. I mean, I know it's the preseason. We say don't judge on the preseason, but this is a guy that could. I think he should already be running back too. But obviously, he's a rookie. You got Kenny Gainwell, a guy who's been there for a few years. I'm not huge on him at this point in his career. Was not a fan of him last year. Went on his phone or tweeted out something or went on Instagram during halftime.
Something stupid.
Something stupid. So I'm just not huge on him at this point. Loved him coming out of college. Thought he was a great pick, and he did pretty well for the Eagles as their running back 3, running back 2. But I'm very high on Will Shipley as well. He is just a guy. He runs well. He catches well. McCaffrey-esque. I'm not saying he's nearly what McCaffrey was, but he reminds me of he's not bad, but like a less version of Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's one of, if not the best running backs in the league. So not fair to compare to him, but I see flashes of that in him. So definitely think he can be a key contributor. And I think by the midseason point, he will be the running back 2 for the Eagles.
100%, man. I mean, this kid is absolutely legit. And the thing I like about it, the thing I love about the draft this year is how he drafted some gamers, man. Like Cooper DeJean is a gamer. Will Shipley is a gamer. I mean, these cats are absolute gamers. So I'm very, very excited to see this newfound blood, this newfound energy on this team. And listen, special teams, again, with special teams, they're solid, man. Like and I'll be honest, I'm excited about the kick return. You got Britton Covey, you get Isaiah Rogers as your punt, your kick returns, respectively. Again, you got a pretty good, young, explosive kind of player on both ends of the, of the punt and the kick, man. I'm excited about special teams too.
And Jake the Make, one of, if not the best kickers in the league. Definitely a top 3 kicker, in my opinion. Nobody's better than Tucker at this point, but Jake Elliott's pretty dang close. And then you got the new kickoff rule, so kick returns have a bigger implication. So you don't really need to just have a guy out there just to fair catch it or to just watch it drop. Kickoffs actually mean something this year, so having Isaiah Rogers or Britton Covey back there, and Britton Covey was one of, if not the best punt returners in the entire league last season. So I'm pumped for him. I'm really I was a little bit down on him after his first year. Did not have the greatest rookie year, but I mean, shut me up last year for sure. Was phenomenal in that punt return role, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do potentially in the kickoff role. I mean, they might have Isaiah Rogers, but if it's Britton Covey back there, teams better watch out.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I was one who thought that, again, that you could actually have Britton Covey as your third receiver, right, in the slot until they got Jahan Dotson, which, again, we kind of touched on a little bit, and I think, bringing in Jahan Dotson just shows, again, man. Like I have to say, I did a little stream about it, and we had some people checking in with it. I know you say you kind of thought he was. I'm shocked that they moved him at all. I no matter what the case may be, you're talking about a new offensive system. You're talking about 24-year-old receiver under team control for the next 2 years. Your number one guy in Terry McLaurin is a little long in the tooth. You have a young quarterback in Jaden Daniels that you want to develop some cohesion with a young guy with. Your tight end is 90 years old in Zach Ertz. Like, I'm just shocked that they would say, like, something had to happen. Like, I'm still under the belief that something that we're not seeing happened, something was said, something we don't know, because that player, that talent should not be moved, man. I'm sorry.
I kind of disagree a little bit with that, just because I mean, it's a new ownership, a new GM. It wasn't their pick. Really struggled with drops last year. I think he was top 5 in drops. So
didn't know that.
Apparently, they're very high on Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother. They're very high on Olamide Zaccheaus. So shout out to the Eagles, former receiver,
former Falcon, former Eagle.
Yeah. Yep. So I guess they were just high on them. It really shows on how low they were on Dotson. I feel like they wanted to get rid of him now because I don't think they were too enamored with his ceiling. I feel like they probably thought that he hit it with the 520 something yards and 4 to 5 touchdowns. So I feel like they were gauging his interest. They saw that they could get a 3rd round pick, and they're like, is it even worth keeping him? We got 2 guys we're high on. Why don't we just ship him out, sell him at what they believe to be potentially his highest? So I think that's the reason why, because I just don't think they were high on him after last year. I think he really left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, or at least the new general managers and people in the front office. So props to Howie Roseman. You get a chance on him. He's going to be the wide receiver 3. You don't need to depend on him. So if he can provide in that role, he doesn't have to do much. But if he does his job, it's a phenomenal trade from Howie.
Yeah. Really. I mean, even if he does a little bit, man, like even if he does a little bit, and because you have to, it's not about comparing him to our other wide receivers above him. It's comparing to who would have been in that spot. Right. So is he going to do more than a guy like Paris Campbell would have done? Right. When you think about that, and as long as he does that, listen, it is a win-win. Now, looking at the overall players around the league that make it come, I'm going to say a name that I kind of think, we've talked about defensive line. We've talked about that the Eagles need a little bit of depth. And one of the biggest acquisitions for the Eagles that, was not a player. And honestly, this could be, in my opinion, I know, listen, Vic Fangio, stud. Kellen Moore, stud. I get that. But Clint Hurt, to me, is such a huge hire, and he's the defensive line coach, came from the Seattle Seahawks. Very well respected, very much in your face. A guy that really has a great reputation. And when they got him, I was like, dude, this dude, I am so happy. I mean, he could be the Jeff Stoutland of the defense. And there's a guy in Pittsburgh that's on the bubble right now, and Isaiah Loudermilk. And what I love about him, again, it's a lot of depth out there to defensive line, because if anybody knows anything about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they behind Cam Hayward, obviously, but they've always had a strong defensive line, and they have 3 to 4 guys already above this guy. It's a 2021 former 5th round pick. Only has appeared in 42 games. Okay. Only started 5 times, but he's got 46 tackles. He's got a couple sacks, couple pass defended. Yeah. But the thing is, he's still under his rookie contract this last year, but he has all the physical attributes to be a really good, kind of like rotational piece like we love here in Philadelphia. So, Tyler, I think this is one of the guys that we could look at. And the reason why I brought up Clint Hurt is because he's known for taking some reclamation projects, giving them a different kind of hunger and fuel, and really turning them around. And I think this is what Loudermilk could do for the Eagles if he's obviously cut by the Steelers.
Yeah, and you mentioned Clint Hurt. Great. He was great defensive coordinator for the Seahawks last season. They obviously had the coaching wipeout. They brought in Mike McDonald, not Mike McDonald. What's his name?
Yeah, no, it is Mike McDonald, I think.
Is it? I think I got. Yeah, Mike McDonald. I got him mixed up with the Dolphins coach. But yeah, you said he could be the Jeff Stoutland of the D-line. 100% agree. Definitely seems like a guy who knows what he's doing, and seems like, I don't know. It could be huge, because Jalen Carter, you saw how dominant he was as a rookie, and his second year with Clint Hurt and Vic Fangio as his mentors, that's huge for him. And Jordan Davis, who could be in a make or break season. Again, having 2 amazing defensive minds like that in both ears, just the sky's the limit for both of these guys now.
It really is. And, think about, and this is what's huge about the Clint Hurt signing, is what you just said. I mean, this is a guy who was a defensive coordinator, who is now a defensive line coach. So now you essentially have Vic Fangio and you have Clint Hurt, 2 guys very well respected and 2 guys very talented coordinators in their own right. You technically have both of them now as coordinators, and now Hurts is focusing on that defensive line. So, I mean, it's huge to me, because, I know everybody made a big deal about the coaching, and everybody was like, coaching, but it's still got to be the players. I understand that. But when you're talking about, you look at the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl, and I'm going to say this, Tyler, we haven't talked much about this, but I'm not a Doug Peterson guy. I will never be a Doug Peterson guy. I honestly think the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in spite of Doug Peterson. I think that Doug had a tremendous coaching staff built around him, and I think that's why they were able to do it. And I think what you saw last year, in Sirianni, was the Doug Peterson effect, when you didn't have the coaches anymore, and it was just all about you, and you couldn't do it. So I think it completely changes the wheel this year, and that's why I'm so excited, because I think there's a lot of players that had down years that are going to come back this year and are really going to hit that needle because of this coaching staff.
First and foremost, Doug Peterson, greatest Eagles coach of all time. I don't care what coaching staff.
Sorry, bro.
Rightfully so.
How's he doing in Jacksonville, by the way?
Not impressed. My family
Okay.
is big Jacksonville Jaguars fans, so I get to watch a lot of that game. But
Oh,
he's not the
really?
main
Okay, I didn't know that.
I have a big, big issue with his offensive coordinator. It's the same reason he got fired in Philadelphia. It's the same exact reason why he's going to be potentially fired in Jacksonville if they have a slow start to this year. It's Press Taylor. I don't know
Oh,
what Press Taylor has. I don't know what he has on Doug
Oh,
Peterson, but Doug Peterson would not fire Press Taylor. So Jeffrey Lurie was like, okay, well, then let's just move on, because if he stays, and you know what, let's just move on. And same thing in Jacksonville. That offense had Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones for a little bit, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence, who is the most hyped up college quarterback since John Elway, Andrew Luck, and he's not even a Pro Bowler yet. Are you kidding me? Had that one great comeback against the Chargers in the playoffs.
Doug calls the plays, doesn't he? Just throwing it out there.
I don't know. Does it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure if he does.
Doug calls the plays, bro. That's all I'm saying. Doug is not. Listen. I'm just saying that, you know, and I continue to say, it's so funny. I say this because when I said it, it started to grow some legs, not just, you know, within my little group. I'm saying, not obviously, I'm not that important all over the world, but you know, the whole Philly special where Doug didn't even know if he wanted to call it. That to me, that is an indictment of Doug Peterson's career. I'm just saying, and that's why I say, listen, man, I am not a Doug guy. Listen, I think he's a great dude. I do. I think, but you know, you talked about Press Taylor, and it's so funny because, and the reason why I'm going back to that is because all these guys, these BYU Mormon Society guys, you know, they all have this bond, right? Mike Kafka, right? It's another guy. Like all these guys, and I'm being honest, where's Mike Kafka stinks. But all of a sudden, like he's in the running for all these jobs, right? Press Taylor, he stinks. Like, what has Press Taylor done? I don't understand. But again, it's all about comfort level, right? It is. It's about comfort level. I'll be honest with you. I could get canned. I don't care, but it's like radio guys, right? Whether it be in Philadelphia, whether it be in New York, whether it be in New Jersey. Like what happens is some guys are really good. Some guys are really bad. But you know what? If they have a comfort level with a producer or a production manager, guess what? Doesn't matter. And I think that's where you get a guy like Press Taylor. I do. But I'm sorry, man. Me and you would argue all day. I am not a Doug guy whatsoever.
Oh, man. Nothing is changing my mind on that. He made the final call in Philly special. It came through him.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It was like, what? Like, and
Phil Belichick.
Hold on for a second. Go rewind that freaking tape too, because I am telling you right now, he was ready to call it off because he tried to grab Foles as well. He was ready to come up like think of it. That's how indecisive Doug Pearson is, but he's got a freaking statue. Him and Nick Foles. I listen. That is, I would go on a 1 hour tangent on why Nick Foles should not have a statue in Philadelphia. Listen, I get it. If you want to, like, I understand, bro, but again, Allen Iverson can't get a gold statue in front of the Wells Fargo Center, but we got Nick Foles. Like, are you serious?
On a Super Bowl.
Little overboard, bro. Little overboard. I'm glad we have it. Okay. I'm a Philly guy, but I'm a realist too. Like, I just saying, you know, I'm just saying, I give you this. You're a baseball guy. Let me ask you this. Now we go to this conversation. Charlie Manuel. I'll tell you what, Charlie Manuel, like, they won the World Series, but was it because of Charlie Manuel? No. It was because of a great coaching staff. A guy like Jimmy Williams on the coaching staff, right? There was guys on that coaching staff, dude, that made those decisions for Uncle Charlie, man. I'm just saying, like, it's all about your coaches. And I think that was what about Doug, right? Like this year, let's say the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year. Are we going to give Nick Sirianni a gold statue? That's what we're essentially saying, right? Think about it, man. I'm just saying. Think about it.
If Sirianni wins a Super Bowl, I feel like he would be in contention to be the best Eagles coach. I know.
Ooh.
I know the whole last year happened, but look at his resume so far. If he wins a Super Bowl this year, uh, playoffs his first year, makes the Super Bowl second year. Wasn't really his fault that they lost that game. I blame that game fully on that fumble on Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Gannon, 1 trillion%.
Oh,
I know you had the debacle last year, but you still made the playoffs. And if you win the Super Bowl this year, in your first 4 years of coaching, you make the playoffs all 4 years and you make 2 Super Bowls and you win one. That is by far the best Eagles coach. I know Andy Reid and Dick Vermeil, Hall of Famers, but with the Eagles, like their success with the Eagles, if Nick Sirianni and the Eagles win a Super Bowl this year, he's absolutely, I think, the best, the most impactful at least, because Super Bowls are all that matter. It doesn't matter how many NFC title games you make it to. It's the Super Bowls that matter. So if you can get the 2 Super Bowls in 4 years and win one, top tier.
I don't know, Tyler. I don't know, man. Me and you are gonna have to have some off the cuff conversations, here, man. I'm just, again, I listen. I get it. I respect your opinion, but this is what I will say. You know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and a couple things stood out to me this year. Number one, knowing that Nick Sirianni was 40-1 to be coach of the year just shows that they don't expect him to finish the year as coach. And number two, these I don't care what anybody says, they're not just rumors, but this Bill Belichick stuff that continues to linger, it's real, bro. It is 100% real. I honestly think that they wanted to give him the coaching job this year. And I think the ultimatum they gave to Nick Sirianni, they were shocked that Nick said, yeah, okay, I'll take a step back. I'll just kind of be like an overseer. I think they thought he was going to say no, and then we're going to bring Bill in. And that's why Bill's still sitting there, bro. I'm telling you, I'm not, I don't want it. I'm just saying, there's something about Sirianni that just doesn't seem right with me. Right? Like, years ago, the Eric Lindros years, for the Flyers, and there was something brewing in that locker room, and nobody knew what it was, and then the team just kind of like fell apart. It was because somebody was sleeping with somebody's wife or whatever it was. And I'm not saying somebody sleep with somebody's wife on the Eagles, but I'm just saying like there was this underlying thing, and the coach at that time could not get it under wraps. And it means a lot to me, and it shows a lot to me. And with Sirianni, it looks like a lot of the stuff that happened last year was because of Sirianni, his treatment of certain players, his lackadaisical approach on certain things, even though he looked like this big rah-rah guy. And I think it rubbed people the wrong way with some of his actions. So I'm just saying, I'm very interested to see how this year plays out, because honestly, Tyler, I do think they can win in spite of Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I 100% see your criticisms with him. He's not the greatest offensive mind. I mean, you look at his offense, his first year, he had to turn the Eagles offense was not that good. Shane Steichen takes over. Jalen Hurts takes the next step. The offense takes a step. They take 2 steps forward. And then you see last year, it was him and Brian Johnson. Saw some reports that some people say it was more Nick Sirianni than Brian Johnson, and then Brian Johnson was just the scapegoat. Wouldn't surprise me if that was true. But obviously, I don't know what's true. I really don't know. But just going off of what I see, but he's not the greatest offensive mind. You're not going to hire, like, Nick Sirianni is not like a Kellen Moore, where he's this offensive guru, or like how Brandon Staley was supposed to be a defensive guru when he had the worst defense. But
man, that was really, awful. Really bad.
Awful. I'm surprised they kept him after the Jacksonville game. I thought they were going to hire Sean Payton. I thought Justin Herbert with him, perfect.
Yep. No,
they chose Brandon Staley, and they didn't trade the first-round pick for Sean Payton. So they picked him and Quentin Johnston over Sean Payton. Now Sean Payton, Broncos could be pushing for a playoff spot this year if Bo Nix is legit.
I'm glad you said that, man. I like that, because talked about that last night on Sirius, and here's the thing about Payton. What's the biggest thing about Sean Payton? His ego. Sean Payton is a huge egotistical guy, and everything the way when he came back, for him, he wants to come back and stick his chest out and be like, I am Sean Payton. Like I'm the guy. And last year didn't play out that way. And he got rid of some of the players he inherited. And like you said, if Bo Nix works out just a little bit, and Javonte Williams is back, a year and a half removed from that ACL injury, and Cortland Sutton again, by the way, when he got healthier towards the end of last year with the ACL, he started to really come on. I mean, look, this team, I'll tell you what, man, they can make some noise. So that's important. But listen, Tyler, before we go, I want to give a shout out to, I just watched the Bryce Harper walk-off on X as we were sitting here, courtesy PHLY Phillies. And number one, shout out to Kyle Schwarber, man. Go second to home, just beats the throw. I mean, pumping. And how about, I don't know if you saw this, but our man Joel Embiid, not right. Here's what I see though, Tyler. He's sitting with the people. Like that, to me, that's amazing. Like, he's not up in a box. He's not up in a suite. He's sitting with the peeps, man. Like, you got to love that.
I mean, he's truly embracing the city. I mean, he was in the streets of Philadelphia the night the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So you can tell he really loves the city. He's not just another guy. He's like, oh, I play here. Yada, yada. You can tell he genuinely loves it here. He said he wants to be a Sixer for life. He's sitting with the crowd at Phillies games. He's been at a couple Eagles games. And like I said, he was on the streets of Philadelphia. This is a guy, one of the best players in the NBA. And the city's football team wins the Super Bowl and he's roaming the streets with the people. Like, that's awesome. Like, that, him and Bryce Harper, the true embodiments of what people want their city's athletes to be.
So awesome. I love it. I do. I absolutely love it. But listen, we're gonna get out of here, Tyler. Before we go, man, any final thoughts for the Philadelphia Eagles as we get out of here?
I mean, the roster cuts, was it 4 p.m. by tomorrow? They have to
announce it. Yep.
So again, I'd be surprised if James Bradbury was still on this team. What else? I'm going through my list here. Wouldn't be surprised if they added another D lineman, another offensive lineman depth. Nobody big. They have all their starters set. They have their guards, so it's just tackle depth. Maybe they make a play at a lower end receiver. I don't think so, unless they want to get 6 guys. I mean, they have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dotson, Covey. I think Johnny Wilson will make the roster. He's looked pretty impressive so far. I'm not sure. Maybe they add another speed guy if they keep Paris Campbell, but I don't know. I do think that they're going to make some moves, and I think there's going to be at least one semi-big move, and then that could be the James Bradbury departure.
I agree, man. I do. I agree. I definitely think that's going to be the big move. But I do think Howie has something up his sleeve. I do think they'll bring somebody in, just like they did with the Julio Jones move. At the very right before certain things happen. Shoes drop from other teams. So we shall see. But before we get out of here, as always, WinDailySports.com. Code HEAT for 50% off all premium membership. Tyler just continues to ride the heater. We'll see. I'll throw a tweet out in a little bit because we got Tyler's triple play. I hit a parlay based off of that, based off the Win Daily model. So we're all kicking. And tomorrow night, Pike's Pub, as always, 6 to 9, talking more. I got some special guests showing up. Might have my man Foods there, one of the greatest passionate Eagles fans you'll ever see. Got my man Frank from Pikes Pub that'll hop on the mic as well. Got the great Pikes Pub force, I call him, man. We had like 40-50 people there last week. People getting on a microphone. We're doing Eagles chants. We're live betting on the game. So it's out there in Bucks County. We have a playlist here. You can watch the show. 3 hours of, in my opinion, gold. Oh, by the way, 50-cent wings, man. Like 50-cent wings just for the 3 hours that we broadcast from 6 to 9. 50-cent wings. Go on there. I'm telling you, they're fantastic. And our girl Jess the bar, she makes things moving as always. So as we get out of here, everybody have a fantastic evening. For Tony, for Tyler, for the whole HRS family. Stay tuned. 4 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to see what shoes fall, what stay the same. But as always, we'll be back here for the coverage. Ty will be back with the pregame shows. Maybe you'll catch me on the postgame show. We shall see. A lot of big things planned as we get ready to kick off. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy. We'll catch you back here next time.